So the next morning, I'm at school very early, and that's when there was an attempt made on my life because I saw a group of young men shooting heroin, and they needed to get rid of the witness, the eyewitness. And that the night before, I had learned one Bible verse. I'd memorized only one Bible verse, and I had in my shirt a little Gideon New Testament. I put my hand over my heart, and I began to yell, "Greater is he who is in you than he that is in the world," over and over and over again. I opened my eyes, and they had dispersed. They'd gone in 7 directions, and there I was. Now, I go from that to my physical science class, which is 3rd period, and I see a black student with a large orange Bible on his top of his desk. Now think about how many times I've been in that classroom and never saw it, never noticed it till that day. And I walk up to him just gushing, and his color is irrelevant. And I said, "Are you a Christian?" And he stood to attention by his desk, and he looked me in the eye, and he said, "I am saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost." And I'd never heard that. I mean, I thought, this is like some kind of a Jedi. Who is this guy? And it was Larry Cobb. And we became friends, and it caused a stir. 2,500 students, very large high school. But the races ate in different sections and lunch. And so he and I are sitting together. And so he said, "I'm going to show you how to pray." And he had his Bible, and he opened it up, and he had it color-coded, And I'm a sophomore. And we're both sophomores. And he's got this Bible color-coded. And he said, "This is what these verses mean. These are what..." And he said, "I'm going to disciple you." There was a term. And within 2 weeks of my conversion, I had led 14 of my friends to Christ. And that's when I learned, after 14 of my friends are saved, I had names in a little black book of every one of them that we'd led to the Lord. Then Larry said, "What you're doing is called witnessing." And I didn't know what witnessing meant until 14 of my friends were saved. But we also were highly persecuted because of the activism was going on, Black Panthers. All of it was explosive. So he said, "Okay, I'm going to show you how to pray now. And meet me at the Double Rock Baptist Church in Hunters Point Friday night. Come about 11 o'clock at night." Well, that's taking your life in your hands. I mean, that was like, you don't do that. And to this day, I look back on it, and I realize that I must have a guardian angel that has one eye half closed, and he's shaking and got some teeth missing or something. But I went on Friday night, and we sat there, and he said, "We're going to pray." And we prayed until 6 a.m. And my goal was just to stay awake. But he just would shake me and said, "This is what you do. You wait on the Lord." And I realized that, that was my initiation to prayer, was you pray all night. Then we prayed in the mornings before our 1st period class. We met somewhere and prayed. And we prayed specifically. He said, "You got to write down specifically what you want God to do." And then we'd put a name of a student, and then we would win them to the Lord. So we asked the principal, Mr. Knowles, I remember his name, "Can we have a class after school or for Christians who want to pray and study the Bible?" And he said, "I can't do that because there was not the separation of church and state like there is now. What it was is every other group is going to want one. The Panthers, the Scientologists, the whichever, the Buddhists, everyone's going to want one." So we did something that would be a hallmark that influenced me, that Larry thought outside the box. And so we targeted an individual from every one of those backgrounds and converted them. So we went to the principal and said, this guy was a Buddhist, this guy was this guy was this. So when you let us have this class, it's going to be for them all. So we had 150 students in that group. And the principal himself came and spoke at it and said, since this group has been on campus, the violence has been cut in half. So that's my training program. So we graduated, 66, and Larry was drafted. And he got his notice, you know, but right during that summer, the summer of 66, Larry invited me to his house on a Saturday afternoon, and we sat there, and he goes, I need to pray over you. Of all the Bible verses, and I have searched them, none of them adequately describe firepower like this verse. It says, for the weapons of our warfare are not physical, weapons of flesh and blood, but they are mighty before God to the overthrow and destruction of strongholds, inasmuch as we refute arguments and theories and reasonings and every proud and lofty thing that sets itself up against the true knowledge of God. And we lead every thought captive and purpose away, every thought and purpose away captive into the obedience of Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One. You must make lifetime decisions. There's 2 of them. And I want you to make a permanent change. I don't want you to get a swoon and a feeling and a sweet word from the Lord that makes you feel better about your future. I want you to be destroyed and rebuilt. I want you to be dismantled and then remantled with a good mantle. And the big permanent change is far greater than a lot of small temporary changes. At some point in this class, you must answer 2 questions. What is it that you will never do again because of this class? Never again. I don't care if you make a lot of new promises to yourself. I only really want you to make 2. There's something that I will never do again, and there is something that I will never quit doing as long as I live. One of the things I'm going to get rid of in you is the tendency to quit. I want you to become a fire-breathing, tongue-talking, nasty person. Now, I'm using the word nasty in the positive way. I want you to be the person that is so filled with God's authority that Satan assigns a demon with a walkie-talkie, puts him in your bedroom to warn hell that you're waking up in the morning. Somebody give God the glory. Who wants to be that person? Come on.